Good morning. This is Ron Brown. It's Saturday morning, the 8th of June, 2024. I just returned from several days of vacation, and I want to do a quick video on the market. I didn't even look at the markets this week while I was gone. I did update the add-on files and posted them every night for Insider Club members, but other than that, I didn't do any analysis at all. And I'm going to do that in this video, which I'm going to keep pretty short. This is more of the continuation or continuing the order flow and context video series I'm doing. And it's about combining order flow and chart analysis with HCS Investor. And this week, this is video number 8, market analysis. And I'm going to bring relative strength into the equation using the RS module that's an HCSI, and we're going to take a look at primarily at the markets and not at stocks. And I'm going to include structure, VPA, and all the things I've been talking about. Once again, remember the market is your teacher. Risk disclaimer: any stock index or ETF mentioned in this presentation is not a recommendation to buy or sell. All trading strategies are used at your own risk. If you don't have the software, you should go to highgrowthstock.com and do the trial for 30 days. You can download the PDF that I'm using for reference on this video series at hcsinvestor.com/context charts.pdf. Okay, I've got the layout in front of me. This is my Major Markets Plus folder, which is in my market analysis user groups. And I have my top-down analysis view, which you'll find right here is the one I want. It's the top folder under Ron Brown Top-Down Process Scans 2024 Warehouse Views. This folder here are some of the views that I use daily, and but my primary group is right here, which I'm working with, and I'm in the top folder and using 01 right now. Okay, I'll get this out of the way. Now what this does is it sorts on the percentage price change one day, and you can see in descending order which groups were strongest and weakest yesterday. And the S&P 100 was flat, the NASDAQ QQQ minus 0.1%, NASDAQ 100 the same, and so on, Spider the same. So not much movement yesterday. Bitcoin, there was some late day profit taking from what I read. So that's always dangerous if you're buying Bitcoin at the levels we've seen recently, over $70,000. But looking down here at the list a little further, you can see that the small caps are not doing well. Using these two columns here, the days since the 3 crossed the 6, these are from the SOX on up are positive. Everything below that, these are negative, and you can see the leaders index that I have crossed down 12 days ago. Mid cap did the same thing. Small caps 600 4 days ago, and the Russell 10 days ago. So there is some weakness in these stocks. What's been carrying this market? Well, from the looks of things, it's been the tech stocks. Like I said, I really didn't follow it throughout the week, and I'm getting a look right now. So this shows this week. This is the beginning of the week. These were all up from the beginning of the week, and it looks like the SOX was up 1.4%, which would be the biggest gainer. Or I meant one of the largest gainers for the week. But the NASDAQ 100, which of course is loaded with tech stocks, and the QQQ, that's where the action was. This column is from Monday morning, the beginning of the week. The percentage price change 5 days. That's from Friday to Friday. And you can see from Friday to Friday, the biggest gain was in the semiconductor index, the SOX. Now the SOX doesn't have volume. You can tell that by looking at this column. Any of these with 788, it just means there's no volume in there. But so I can't analyze the volume, but I can bring up the chart. And let's just take a look at the stocks. This is a weekly, this is a daily over here. And I can see there's been some volatility in this. And that's not surprising. This is just 30 stocks, so it's really hard to analyze this without volume and so on. One stock can really make a huge difference in this group. So rather than using the stocks, let's go to the NASDAQ 100 and use it for analysis. Now I'm going to bring an arrow up here. Leave the timer off for now. So let's take a look at this. I was gone this week, like I said, so going back 5 days. This would be Friday of last week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So this is what happened this week. And looking at the weekly chart, it's all contained in this bar right here. It opened at this point for the week, traded down, and closed at an all-time high. That is an all-time high for the week. The daily chart, it approached the all-time high, but the close was not an all-time high. That happened on Wednesday, it looks like. Now looking at the percentage price change 5-day, Friday to Friday, it says 2.5%. If I click on this candle and look down at the bottom of the chart, that corresponds to the 2.5% down here, where it took out the weekly highs here to establish a new weekly high. The daily high, like I said, it didn't close above this high. What is the closing price? See, it's right up here, 19,000.95. That same number is right down here on the weekly chart. But during the day, if you look down here, you can see that the high on the daily was 19,113.88. So it did not close at the all-time high, but it did establish a new all-time high, closing high for the week. Now, before I go take a look at what's in there, let's quickly look at the ranking module here. This is a comparison of the relative strength to the S&P 100 for 1 week. I just set it in here, comparative RS, number of weeks won. Security, I'm comparing to the SPX, and you can see that the stocks outperformed the SPX or the S&P 500 by 1.92%. The QQQ outperformed by 1.44%. And the NASDAQ 100, the index itself, outperformed by 1.23%. The NASDAQ composite itself, which contains many more stocks, of course, outperformed by 1.11%. And you can see the underperformance is in the Ultra VIX. As prices go up, the VIX and the Ultra VIX continue to go down. And you can see how weak the small cap 600 is compared to the S&P. So this ranking module, just comparing 1 week, we get a good feel for where the strength and weakness are. So I'm going to bring that NASDAQ 100 chart up, make sure it's still up here, which it is. And let's just take a look at this on a daily basis. Actually, let's look at the weekly. You can see on the weekly there was a, well, this was actually the first lower low here going back comparing this. So there are not 2 weeks in a row where there were 2 lower lows, which would indicate a trend change. So the weekly chart is still very strong. This is the weekly candlestick chart, which is plain. And what I want to do here is go in, select volume price analysis, and let's just draw the the VPA flags and this information up here, and you can see that all the trends remain up. These are VPA trends. These are random walk trends. Everything is up, still strong. If I change this to a daily by going to alternate D, that information, alternate D gives you a daily chart. You can see these are the same. The trends are all up right now also. I don't have any volume here. To get volume, I'd have to bring the QQQ up, and you can see the volume comes up. Very, very light volume days this week. The volume spike was last Friday, where you see this long lower wick indicating a shakeout in the market. Here's the volume spike for that day, and you can see that it was a intraday shakeout, and the bulls came back in and pushed this market up at the close. And then Monday, here's Monday, another shakeout. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. But look at the volume, only one day above the 90 or the 18-day simple moving average on this. Here's the chart on the daily, and none of these volume bars this week were above the 90 period simple moving average, which is a moving average that I use in my charts. That is for the daily chart. So the weekly and the daily trends are still up. Let me go back to the NASDAQ 100, even without volume, because I'm just looking at the bars right now. So for a trend change, and I need to change this back to weekly, there were no bars where there were two lower lows where the third lower low would meet a trend change. And on the daily chart here, this low was established here, and that low was not taken out until on Thursday of the prior week. And then on Friday, there was that buying rush that came in to support it. So the body didn't close lower, the wick did. But on Monday, that was reversed because the two lower lows, if we considered this two lower lows, it was negated on Monday. So what I'm saying, using these criteria about the two lower lows needed and then a follow through on that second lower low to change the trend, it didn't happen. So these trends reading that way agree with these trends over here. The market is still trending up, but what did we see? We saw an extremely light volume, so participation is way down. And that was not because I was on vacation. Just kidding. Anyway, so we know that the NASDAQ 100 and the stocks were where the action was. So let's go into the NASDAQ 100 and determine where this strength has been. I'm going to drop down to my broad market indices, and here's the NASDAQ 100 is what I'm looking for. Oh, this is a ranking module. That's why I didn't spot it right away. Let me sort on the ranking module. Here's the NASDAQ 100, and I'm just going to flip through to the warehouse view. That's what I'm looking for. And I'm going to go over here. I'll use the percentage price change 5 days. NASDAQ 100, I'm going to go down into the group. And sorting on the percent 5 day, which would be Friday to Friday, this is where the strength was for the week. CrowdStrike, I think that's going into the S&P 500, NVIDIA, Illumina, Autodesk, and so on, PayPal. So this is where the strength was, and I'm going to make this full screen here. And going down here, looks like 64 of the 100 stocks were positive for the week. And I really need to go to a different view here. I'm going to go from here to down to my folder, and I'm going to click on scorecard, end of day. I'm still sorted on percentage price change one day. Even though I don't have that column in here, if you click on the A to Z, you can see what the sort is, and that's where I'm sorted right now. Secondary, I don't know if I can get much out of this or not. I want it on industry. It's not going to change anything because the numbers, there are not several numbers with the same amount in them, so that I can't do it that way. So let's do it this way. I'm going to sort on industry percentage price change. Wow, all these industries are down except for a couple. I'll use the beginning of the week here. Go back to the top. And over 5 days, these are the only industries that were up for the week. So several of these stocks outperformed their industries, obviously, if they're green in this column here. I'm just going to sort on beginning of the week, which would be from Monday morning's open, rather than 5 days, which would be Friday to Friday. So this will work. So we can see where the strength was from Monday morning's open. And these are all familiar names if you've been following the markets at all. But CrowdStrike, Moderna, Illumina, NVIDIA, of course, Costco. Costco is a monster stock. Look at this, up around $850. Tremendous. A couple of years ago, I thought it was way overpriced at $400. Let's just look at the weekly. Look down here. This was 1623. Here's the end of the year in 22. The closing price was $456, and it had sold off. I thought that was ridiculous at the time, and look what happened to it. By the way, using the method of pivots and price action trend changes using a weekly chart here. Okay, there was a trend change down and then a trend change up. No, I take that back. There was not a trend change down there. Let me bring up an arrow. Okay, so on this one, this would be coming down here, first lower low here, second lower low. This lower low was put in, but it wasn't a closing lower low. This one right here. So I would consider that a trend change down. But look at these VPA flags coming in here. Now, sometimes we have to use discretion about this, but it certainly was going down. But look how the volume trailed off on this weekly. It was going down, and then these VPA flags are coming in. So looking for two higher highs here. Here's the first higher high right here. Here's the second higher high right there. And then when this one took off, there's the third higher high for a trend change. Now looking at this, this would be the first lower low. This would be the second lower low. This would be the third lower low. So there was a trend change down during this month here, and then going over here, we're starting to look for higher highs. Don't have it here. This would be the first higher high. This could be considered a higher high. And even though the direction of the candle was down, this was the third higher high. But to confirm that, this is where the trend changed back up using that methodology. And after that, I do not believe I see two lower lows with a confirmation by that third lower low just going down through the lowest level. So using this method from the Costco right here, if you're just looking at weekly trends, anybody who bought in this area would probably still be in the stock using this methodology. Okay, there's a trend, just a bar down, but a lower low wasn't established. Here's a lower low, taking these lows out, but this low is not lower than that low, so no trend change. And look at this stock. It just is a monster, like I said. On the daily chart, after this series right here, this is 422.24, using that methodology, getting in at this point, first higher high, second higher high, third higher higher. It has been in a long-term trend since then. And what was the price point? That was on May 2nd, 2024. The close was 732, so it's well up over 100 points since then. Okay, let's put the VPA flags in here. This whole process I've been showing you, it just puts everything into context. It's much easier than just reading a plain chart. Or a plain chart is fine, but this puts it into context. And look at all the efforts to rise here. Just this, there's a one pullback, efforts to rise all the way up, and then let's bring the moving averages into it. I'll make this full screen. And it did not dip down here. So here is the last buy point, the 3 crossing the 6. And I'll put a crosshair on here. Need to bring this back. Right here. So it was trading around 726 in there after this pullback, and it just took off. The 3 stayed above the 6 all this time. Look at all these pocket pivot buy points, the blue lines, and there was a pullback here on the volume point of control, which corresponds to this, but that was just a one-day pullback, and the 3 came nowhere close to penetrating the 6. So any of these methods help keep you in. And look up here at the top. The blue is the industry and the green is the outperformance of Costco to the industry. Keep your eye on stocks like Costco. You'll see if we get a hint about if this market is turning or not. But I certainly don't see it yet. It's extended. Wouldn't be buying it now. Looking up here, you'll see that it crossed 33 days ago, the 3 crossing the 6, and this is after the VPOC pullback, and then it entry on the next day if you would have used that for, if anyone, you would have used that for an entry. Now this is a stock that shows steady buying, and a nice tight chart, as Ian used to say, used to love to look for tight charts and avoid the loose ones. Now let's compare this to CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike had a nice run. I had a debit spread on, made 55% in this period right here, but it was shaken out last week, and I don't know if this was earnings or what it was. I didn't pay any attention. And then this week, I think it's because it's going into the S&P 500. But you can see the personality of this stock change. Here's a nice tight chart all the way up using the 2 lower lows with that confirmation by a 3rd lower low. It didn't really happen in here. It doesn't look like. So this was a great run up here, and then we have this shakeout with the long-legged doji spinning top. Then it kind of settled down, and let's see, here be your first lower low, second lower low, third lower low. So the trend changed down using this methodology, and that's back in this area here on the daily. But stocks like this, these bars represent emotion and fear and greed. So when you're looking to analyze stocks or ETF, look for the tighter stocks. If you get in on them using either buying outright or using options, spreads or whatever, your ride will be much less emotional, and you can avoid getting stopped out. Now, if I would have held on to CrowdStrike here, had not closed it out when my predetermined price target was set, I would have lost money on this stock more than likely, unless I wrote it out here, would have written it out here. Well, I just paused this and went and checked. The expiration was actually on Friday, this day right here. I would have been fine had I held it through here. But at this point down here, I would have been in a losing position, and I probably would have just closed it out for a loss. So, but these are very nerve-wracking holdings. Once they get away from their tightness like this and start exhibiting long tails, long wicks. Okay, I'm going to end this. I just want to do a little analysis using these techniques I've been talking about, and I'll continue to do these because I think it's the best way to really get a feel for what a stock's doing rather than just looking at VPA flags alone or crossovers alone and so on. I'm in the habit now of looking at naked charts and then going down through this progression of looking at VPA and then bring the moving average and averages in to get the context and so on. So just I'll do this every week when I'm around, and hopefully we'll all learn together. Right now, the trends look like they're still up, although for the broader markets, although the participation really fell off this week. So we'll see what happens. Thanks for listening.